Hello, everybody. Welcome a Football Friday Live Winner Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Victor King. We got Doug Upstone sitting here today for Mark Lawrence, and we're going to cover all the divisional round games. But before I get to that, like, subscribe, notification bells on, so you know when we do our live show like this. And, of course, our free pick videos daily. You don't miss out. I got me and Doug on Mondays and Doug and Chip on Mondays and Thursdays. Brian Bittler and Matt Fargo Tuesday, Wednesdays. The Friday show, it's Chip, Scott Pritchard, Jim Feist makes an appearance. We got you covered all the time. Now, NFL's winding down, but that's not going to stop us from doing NBA and college football free picks or college basketball free picks. And in that, you're going to hear from Doug because he is pretty good in hockey this year on the ice.
Yeah, I got to talk to him into doing a hockey show. You know, I mean, that's I could be the only one maybe talking about it, but you know what? I can cover 10 minutes, no problem. You know,
that'll be good. Yeah, that'll be you. And remember the old dancing baby from Ally McBeal, because I will not be on the hockey show. We're throwing out little classics. We got Ally McBeal back in the day. That stupid little baby. I don't know why that stuck in my head. I didn't watch that nonsense. But that stupid little baby was some kind of sensation for sure. Ridiculous nonsense. I'll tell you what's not ridiculous nonsense. GamblersWorld.net. That's where our premium plays are. This is a free pick video. We do free picks here all the time. But if you want the good pudding where we put our money where our mouth is, you head to GamblersWorld.net. Get all of our top plays there. 3 738 packages guaranteed. We show a profit over that time. We credit you back. Or you get a daily pass, which is good on the weekend when there's 100 college basketball games or 70 college football games and every other sport running along. You get them all included for $69.99. You can't beat that. You can't beat it. We have a leaderboard at GamblersWorld.net. You see how everybody's doing. All sports broken down for you. It's pretty simple stuff. I say all the time on video, we draw horse to water. You can't make them drink. The records are there. Win, lose. If it's a push, I don't think the pushes show up, but you get the idea. So, Victor, I'll go back to Doug. I saw him the other day, so he's fresh in my mind. I haven't seen you in a week. I'll start with you. That's why. How you been?
Victory's just bored with me. That's all.
Looking forward to a great division weekend. That is for sure. Before we do get into it, we got to talk just a little bit about the wild card weekend. A very interesting weekend. 5 out of the 6 games ended up going under the total. You saw the big faves cover. The faves of 5.5 or more win a perfect 3-0. And the interesting thing about the short underdogs, the dogs of 3 or less points last week, not only did they cover the point spread, they won outright. 3 outright underdog winners in the wild card round. And there was one bad beat that I kind of want to get off my chest before we do head into the division round. I think Sean will be in agreement with me on this. But our biggest total of the wild card weekend was the Steelers-Ravens game over the total. Sean, I think I talked to you about that game off the air, maybe after the program, the fact that we pretty much both loaded up on the over in that game. And if you want to talk about a bad beat of the wild card round from a totals perspective, that was it. When Pittsburgh scored that touchdown, that Russell Wilson passing touchdown to George Pickens late in the third quarter, with 3.5 minutes left, the score of the game was 28-14. With 3.5 minutes left of the third quarter, all we needed was a field goal to hit the over in that game. And you know what happened. The final 18 minutes of the game were scoreless, 0 points. You better freaking believe it. And you want to talk bad beat. All we needed was a field goal and no points in the last 18 minutes. We were on the right side, but we definitely did not get the outcome that we wanted, Sean.
Yeah. I was like, I told you, I said I had a crazy tease where I had it up to 55.5. And I was like, I'm worried that it's going to go. I could see the Ravens scoring a 40 spot themselves and pushing this really over the total. And how they just not score. I mean, come on, no garbage touchdown. You had 21 points in 7 minutes of that whatever it was. They boom, boom, boom. And that third quarter, I'm like, what the heck just happened here? Like, I was out of like, all right, but now and then I'm worried, like, oh boy, I hope I can catch every angle, because then you got multiple plays going. Then you got a bunch of wheels spinning in your head. I got the paper out. I'm like, all right, where do I need? I need this to happen. I need this. Too much of this. But how? Really, you can't score a garbage touchdown in 13 minutes, even at the end of the game.
Right. Even when Baltimore is trying to run out the clock, a lot of times they'll bust a touchdown, even when they're trying to run out the clock. Derrick Henry, he had another long rushing touchdown in the third quarter. It could have happened in the fourth quarter.
You got a guy who gets shot out of a cannon coming out of the backfield. Like, that's where he excels, like the fourth quarter. 55-yard run to the house. You're like, what the? No, not this game. Brutal. Tough law. Yeah, for
bad
sure.
Yep.
Like, bad one there. Doug, we could talk a little more football here. I know we did a little bit on Monday, but it's Football Friday, so you've got anything to rehash from the weekend, or tell them what you got going on this weekend.
I have one game that I have put up. I likely will have two, and I'm still looking at a certain number on Sunday to see what happens here a little bit. So I got something, and specifically it's the Washington and Detroit game. So looking to nail it there. Last week I did hit my wild card game of the year with Buffalo, so that was a nice winner. The rest of the weekend, full transparency, not as good as that. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So that wasn't good, but just overall, I have some people watch it yesterday, heard me talking, as I do have some different information to provide. Yesterday I went, had a nice day yesterday. So in the last 20 days, I'm 66-40, and that's good for $4,300. Okay. Here. So happy about that and looking forward to a big weekend, Sean. And as far as anything that was last weekend that was different, which I mentioned on Monday, I was just pretty much appalled by how bad the quarterback play was by and large. Okay, just across the board. It was very uneventful and not that interesting. I will throw something at you though that you guys I read yesterday. Do you think that the playoff format in any way should be altered? And Bill Barnwell of ESPN, he had 6 different things that he brought up, and one of the ones that I guess I'm not that I don't have a problem with is reseeding after the first round. I still think the division winner should get a home game. Okay, despite the records. But for example, if Minnesota would have beaten the Rams, okay, and they would then have 15 wins, would you guys have a problem if they would have then had a home game this week against a team with a lesser record, despite what the actual seeds are?
I like it. I agree with reseeding after each round. I think that is a step up to improve playoff quality. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm torn on that. Like you win your division. If you're in a tougher division, you win. The Eagles are a pretty good team. Just because they won 12 games and you won 15, I mean, you want to say something about the Texans being a bad team or some other squad? I don't really agree with that. If you're that good, you should have won your division. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's an outlier. You see 2 teams going 14-3 in a division. When does that never happens? Has it ever happened before? I don't think so.
No. It was the first time 14 teams played each other. Yeah.
I mean, Washington had 12 wins this year?
Yep.
Right.
Why can't they have a home game? That's a pretty good season. But I saw someone else put like, oh, the Bengals should be in because they're playing better. Listen, I don't want to hear that kind of nonsense. If you can't win, it's like baseball. Oh, we lost by a game and a half. Well, win that game in freaking May instead of acting a fool. Win your games. I don't care if you're playing better now. That doesn't mean nothing to me. That means nothing. No. Switch it around. How about stay in school for 3 years and learn how to throw the ball? We could start there. We could start there and then worry about teams getting reseeded. But the Vikings, how often does that happen? That's once in a blue moon kind of stuff.
Well, that record, yes. I mean, to 14 wins. I don't know. I mean, the NBA does it, and there's now that granted you get an opportunity of 7 games. Okay,
yeah.
Of that, but if it goes to a 7th game, the team that actually has the better record, not necessarily the better seed, will have the home court advantage. So I mean, I'm not saying it's like, oh yeah, I think this absolutely should be done. I'm just more of the opinion. I can see it. from that standpoint, because why should a team be punished for having a tremendous season? Maybe there's some parameters you can put in there, but it's just it's a interesting topic and kind of thought provoking, at least in my opinion.
Yep.
Sean disagrees, but that's okay. That's not the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's like the least of my. Let's reseed the playoff with what we've seen in there. Let's look at look at these teams this year. How many teams have 5 or less wins? They got bigger problems than let's reseed for a hypothetical. That's a absolute rarity.
Right. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. There's conjecture of, there was talk of going back to 12. That's never going to happen because of the revenue, so that's out. You can go to 16. Okay, and then maybe a team like Seattle or Cincinnati gets in there.
I don't want to hear that now.
I'm not saying
player safety. Think of the players. Think of their health. You can't do that.
That's. I'm very concerned about that. Christmas.
Yeah, let's have 3 games in 10 days. Wednesday games, Thursday games, extra regular season games. What could possibly go wrong? We're going to move into games. I want to hit a couple comments first, though, because we lead right into them. My guy, Big Ragu. He's a Yankee guy to Ragu. Good to see Ragu. I like Ragu. He's got some Philly comments in here. We're going to get to that in a second. John talking about the Pittsburgh over, but then the Philly slide. Well, people were upset about that. The Bad B crew was out. They were out in force with that one. And I get guys sliding, right? It's like, all right, we're not going to run up. It didn't make a difference. If you would have punched it in, they weren't coming back. They weren't scoring. They weren't scoring the whole game. But
right, and it's not like that. That wouldn't have put the game over the total either. It was 22-10 at that point.
That's
it would
a
have been
player.
29-10.
That's a player prop. People are upset anytime Cuddy right there.
Right.
That's
exactly it. He had Barkley to score a touchdown, and it didn't happen.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, at least he slid like the 45 as opposed to like the 3, because you would have been losing your mind. Like what? Yep. Like, because again, you're up 22. It's a pointless. It doesn't affect anything in a round robin of the betting part other than anytime tutties. Oh yeah.
Right, but we're gonna roll in. Since you're talking about Barkley, when we do hit that game, there's an interesting prop that I'll be on. But of course, we'll wait till we get to the Sunday games.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a couple. I'll say let me just jump into comments and we could flip back into it. Now there's a couple more comments on the Eagles stuff, but we'll get to that. That's game number 3, and this is why, because the first comment from our guy King D was Texans Chiefs under the 41.5 he likes here, and that is the first game on the docket here. Kansas City 8.5 point fave, a big number here for the Chiefs for a team that's Victor probably diving into it. What are they? 0-7, 0-8, laying this kind of number 7 or more this year, and yet here they are 8.5, a 9 at BetOnline. Jazz at a 9.5 with this. Here's a team. You got your bye week. You got a team that's been just all right. It's tough to say that. You're 15-1, people, and we ho-hum them because they don't cover spreads, and all they do is get to the Super Bowl every year. What is this? They're going for what? Their 3rd straight title, and would it be their 5th Super Bowl in 4 years or something like that? This is and we're finding ways to punch holes in them. Like, wow, we should have a show on ESPN to do that. Big spread. I don't know what to do in this one here. I haven't bet a side in any game for the playoffs, by the way, folks. I think it's a interesting weekend to say the least. I do have a total play in this, so I want to kind of keep that out of the loop for me. Go to Gamblers World. Hello, I'm having a good run here. Get on board. I'm hot. I'm going to start with Doug this time here. Again, Kansas City, they're all over the place. 8s, 8.5s, 9, 9.5s, depending on what you like. Or maybe total.
I do like a side in this game. Here's the one thing that one of the more striking things to me. These teams met it'll be exactly 4 weeks ago on Saturday. And on that Saturday, Kansas City was a 3-point favorite on that Saturday. Now it's 8.5. Okay. So that to me, that says something, in that one. And so that, Kansas City's experience, I think, is worth a lot. Okay, in this situation, you can talk about the regular season, but we're not in the regular season anymore. Okay,
Yep.
so that's kind of the bigger factor here. And Mahomes has a tremendous record, straight up and against the spread in the playoffs. So from that standpoint, you can look at it and say, okay, Houston, or Kansas City, isn't as, I don't think they're as good as they were the last 2 years. Okay. And I don't think coming into the playoffs, they're playing as well as they did the last couple of years. And I think, I think Victor does power ratings, and Sean, I think you do, but I don't know for sure. But Kansas City doesn't come in number one in anybody's power ratings into the playoffs. So it makes for kind of an interesting tale here. But I am curious to hear what you guys have to say if you have anything on totals.
I just want to say, Pinnacle has us at 10 right now.
We're all over the place here.
Yeah.
We certainly are. You mentioned the fact that Kansas City has struggled this season in the regular season, laying sizable points. In our database, I've got them going 0-6-1 ATS this year when favored by 6 or more, regular season. They've struggled big time, and not just this year. We're going on 2-3 years in a row. They win, but they don't cover. That's their MO in the regular season. But they do seem, Doug touched on it, they do seem to ratchet it up a little bit. They get into a higher gear, a third gear, maybe a fourth gear once they get to the postseason. Chiefs, since COVID, in the NFL playoffs, they're 12-4 against the spread. They're 8-2 in the last 3 years against the spread. They're 6-1 ATS in the last 2 years against the spread. They're a lot better in the postseason than they are in the regular season. So let's not worry about them not covering the numbers in the regular season because they've done it in the postseason. That is for sure. What's got me a little bit scared of playing on Houston is they're playing into a really bad situation for NFL teams who won as a home underdog in the playoffs. Again, from our database, NFL playoff road teams who are off a playoff home underdog win, like Houston last week against the Chargers. They've gone 2-15 ATS the last 17 times it has occurred. That's against Houston. That's kind of telling us to lay the points with the Chiefs. I'm stuck on the total as well. If you are going to bet the under, make sure you get it in at 41.5 or higher. We know 41's a key number in the NFL. Chiefs last 4 home playoff games, all 4 of them under the total. But with that said, Houston's last 4 playoff games, all 4 over the total. One final note that I will add in regards to the game, guys, is the fact that Houston's been an unbelievably contrasting team this year when you bet them in the first half versus the second half. I don't know if you guys are aware about this, but Houston was the number 1 team in the NFL betting them in the first half this year. They've gone 14-4. They covered in the first half last week against the Chargers. So they've gone 14-4 against the spread in the first half and just the opposite in the second half this year. So what I did do, and I haven't played the total yet either, guys. I haven't laid the points yet in the game. But I did bet Houston plus 5.5 in the first half, and I played Kansas City minus 5.5 in the second half of the game.
Okay.
There you go. So I saw, and this was on DK, they had Kansas City at 6.5 for the first half, and their line was 8. Like, just crazy the disparity or the difference in numbers.
Yeah. Different, right. The numbers I'm quoting are from our only source of betting down here in South Florida. Is we're forced to bet only one place in the state of Florida, and that's the Seminole Hard Rock Sports Betting app. They have a monopoly down here. Until things change, we got to play by their rules. I don't like their odds at all. But it is what it is. So any sort of lines or that I quote or anything come from this silly Seminole Hard Rock Sports Betting app.
Sure, we'll talk off air about anything else about that. I'm sure it's the only place you've ever
probably another topic for another time too.
I've been hunting. I'm trying to find Andy Reid the bye week stuff. Right? It's like, Andy Reid bye week, and so I'm like looking. I'm like, they have stuff. I'm like, why can't why doesn't the internet work so like the newest articles at the top? I'm trying to find good numbers on this guy. It says he is, since becoming a head coach of the Chiefs, 13-4 straight up, but 8-9 ATS in regular season, postseason with the bye weeks. 3-1 though, with Patrick Mahomes as his bye week. But I'm like, that can't be right. Why do I feel like he's had more opportunities than to go 3-1 with him on a bye week? I guess that's not counting Super Bowl bye weeks because they have that second week off.
Yeah, I don't think it. I don't know if it count that or not. Yeah, it just
right.
If you look at Kansas City, I mean, their starters have basically not played since week 17 because they missed 18.
Yes,
they had a bye week, and now they had the rest of this week. So basically, 3 full weeks off. So in terms of refreshed, I mean, that's certainly I mean, they should be ready to go. And then the Kansas City defense versus the Houston offense, and especially the Houston offensive line. I mean, you guys watched the game last week. I mean, okay, Herbert had 4 interceptions. I think if the Chargers would have been able to hang on to the ball, they would have had at least 3 in the first half. Okay,
yes.
I mean, they had a couple of them that were right to guys, and they dropped them or batted them around or whatever they did. And so it's not like they got hot and they gained confidence, late in that half because the Chargers' inability to take advantage of situations. But but otherwise, does that make it hot now?
If that game's 14-0 or 10-0, it changes the whole aspect of the game.
Right. They could have been up 14-0 in that game. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
And then it's a blowout. Then it's 30. Then it's 33-6, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Like I wasn't a huge fan of the Charger team. We talked about last week, right? Victor was like, "Who did they beat this year?" I mean, you beat Denver. Okay, how'd they look with their rookie quarterback on the road last week? I mean, you throw the ball to Ladd McConkey. You're going to target a guy 15 times a game. Someone's going to pick you off eventually. At playoff time, it seemed to have gotten to you. You're going to keep trying to throw to one guy. They probably someone was ready for that one when he got 150 targets during the year. They probably thought, you know what? I think we should guard this guy. Did you see that Falcon game? He had 150 yards. The team had 170. Maybe we should slow him down a little bit. And to rant a little more here, Sports Illustrated. That was from January 13th, which was last week, about the Texans, Andy Reid versus Texans bye week. I just found something from Arrowhead Addict. This is from 2 years ago. I'll kind of probably lean a better reporting from the Arrowhead Addict blog page for Kansas City than Sports Illustrated, who's been around for 85 years. 22-3 record in the regular season and 73 in the playoffs off a bye week. That is just from the Arrowhead record guy who's a fan of the team. Yes. That is the numbers I'm looking at. I mean, that's the kind of mind-boggling stuff where you see a 8 to an 8.5, 9, even 10s now. Texans get 4 gift turnovers and somehow get a win. They still have a banged-up offensive line. The wide receiver play still so-so. And then they got a coaching advantage here. I mean, it's one of those spots like you guys say. You see this number, and it's like, hey, Kansas City doesn't cover, but on the flip side of that, the numbers don't lie there with Andy Reid and the Texans as a whole. I don't know.
Well, hey, if you want to do a segue, I got one for you here. All right,
go ahead. Let's segue it in. We segued in a new start. Go ahead. All right.
So we got 2 games on Saturday with 2 big favorites. Okay, this is just you don't have to ask the question. The people that are watching can comment on this. Okay, do you think both favorites will cover? Okay, so that's my question. Do you think both big favorites will cover? I don't think they will. Not both of them. I think one of them will. Okay, as to which one, I'm not going to say, but I think both of them. I don't think both of them will. Now, what's it? That's my question out there. Which one do people that are watching this? What do they think? Which one's going to be the one that will cover?
What do you think, Victor? If you were to guess on the public, what would they be on?
I would lean toward the first game covering, and the dog, a very, very live dog, maybe coming in through the back door in that late game, that NFC game indoors between the Lions and the Commanders. So I would think first game favorite covers, second game dog comes in.
it makes sense because Kansas City doesn't cover games. They're just going to kind of win it, and everybody loves game number 2. And we'll go right into game number 2. The Lions, again, I see an 8.5 at DK, a 9 on some other places here, Bet Rivers type places, 9.5s at your ESPNs, 10s offshore, where I guess more sharper penny and jazz kind of stuff like that. People want to think they're, a little more onto the no, and the other books kind of adjusted these things. Total of 55.5. Why wouldn't you think Washington comes in the back door? They haven't given a shot all year yet. They win 12 games. Everybody loves their quarterback. And we know that Dan Gamble can do something ridiculous here. Are we going to be shocked on 4th and 4 from their own 32 to start the game? He's going to go for it. He will. He's done it. He did it. He did it last week or 2 weeks. This is a guy. He is the Chargers Staley reborn, except he has hit these things. The luck has been on his side like nobody's business. And that just from an overall. Victor, I know you always bring it up when we talk about the Lions. His spread record is something like 46 and 48, like 22. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Insane how the gambling gods lay down on Dan Campbell and bless him. But I don't know, man. This one here, again, 6.5 first half, 27. I would probably think maybe like a first half, 55.5 in a playoff game. The 80s called. They're rolling over in their graves with this one. This is no. I hate when I don't have a play, especially in an NFL game. But this weekend has me not dumbfounded, but it's 2 big spreads, and then tomorrow's games we got arguably 2 of the top teams playing each other, and Doug, we'll go back to you with this one because you brought it up here. Who's going to cover out of the 2? What do you think about Daniels and company, man? Nice rookie season by this kid. Not showing any rookie mistakes, really. I mean, it's been good.
I actually have, as it turns out, I do have a side on that game as well. That's already up at Gambler's World. And but I will say this, okay. The line, by the way, at least the line I saw, it opened at 10.5. So it's actually come down. Okay, the opening line was 10.5 last Sunday, whenever it was. So that's come down to single digits. So if you like Detroit, okay, I mean, getting single digits is a way better than the other way, And Washington, fantastic story, But talk about the gods going your way, okay? With Washington, Washington has won 5 straight games by 6 points or less. All right. And if you go back to the Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears, that they're 7-1. Okay. It's just straight up. Okay. And those games. I mean, that's some, I mean, I'm not saying Daniels isn't good. I mean, I think he's fantastic. I like everything about him, but a lot of things are going their way. Okay. Now they've earned some of those. I'm not disagreeing there, but that seems to be a little bit advanced fortune. And, which of course that leads me to next year because Washington will play a tougher schedule, all the things that go along with that. So that's, we'll handle that then. But one thing I will bring up, first half, if you got a first half with 2 teams that score a lot of points, in this case, 27 or more, and one team is off a victory by 3 or less points, that team covers. I had it here and now I misplaced it. Okay, but I believe I think it's 11 and 36. Okay, on the first half line on that one. Don't hold me to that number, but it is an extreme number. It's over 70%. That I know for sure. And so in that case, that makes Detroit a potential play in the first half. And that makes sense to me because I know Washington's going to be, excited, they got nothing to lose and everything else. But man, this Detroit team at home, tough, man, really tough.
So I'm looking at the Washington schedule here. Dallas, they scored at the end to win that game. Again, final week of the year, whatever.
Yeah.
Overtime win. They shouldn't have. I mean, they were winning, and then they pissed that lead away there against Atlanta. Philly, you're down 22. You scored 22 in the fourth quarter to pull out a win. New Orleans, 20-19. Tennessee was a blowout. Okay. You lost to Dallas, which could have been a win. That could have been an either way game to them because Dallas scored ridiculously late in that game. Philly was 26-18. Pittsburgh, 28-27. You had a lead. I think Pittsburgh scored late in that one to beat you. The Giants, the Hail Mary. I mean, let's go back to even their losses. Baltimore by 7. I mean, this team, talk about flying by the seat of your pants. Now it's the playoffs. I don't want to lay the 8 in. That's a big number, but you say next year we'll see what happens. We know what's going to happen. Hello, Houston Texans. Enjoy maybe. I don't know if you go 10-7 next year. I don't know what the Giants do in the offseason or what kind of mess Dallas is going to lay an egg with their new coach. But you know, new schedule. We got a whole year on you. You got, I hate to say lucky because every team has wins like that, but that's a whole lot of things working in your favor to score 7 wins.
Yeah.
Victor, what do you think? You know, I mean, do they keep it in, I guess, the back door just because of all those things happening? What's got to give? You got Mr. Gamble and a team that's caught every break.
Let me back up Doug first half on the Lions' first half success. We mentioned the fact that Houston was the number 1 team in the NFL in the first half this season at 14-4 ATS. Right behind them at 13-4 ATS in the first half of their games this year, Detroit Lions. Guess what? Washington's also done pretty well in the first half. They've gone 11-7 ATS. Detroit, though, over the last 4 seasons now, Dan Campbell loves coming out in the first half and making that statement. Over the last 4 years now, Detroit is indeed the best ATS team in the first half. Now, remember, most of that is regular season action. Next point, let me address the fact that of the high over-under line. Very significant as well. What do we got about this over-under line stuff here?
55.5.
Yeah, I think so.
55.5. There's been 17 games with the playoff games with an over-under of 55 or more. They've gone 9-8. However, they've gone 1-6-1 outdoors and much, much better, like 7-2 over indoors. So indoor playoff games, 55 or more, have actually gone over the total about a 75% in regards to these two teams. This Washington-Detroit series, the last 2 played in Detroit, averaged 60.0 points per game. Again, 55.5, and the line hasn't moved too much off that at all, which is kind of interesting as well. Based on that and the point spread, the implied score is Detroit 32.5, Washington 23. So now that's what you want to ask yourself. Will Detroit score over or under 32.5? Will Washington score over or under 23? That should be in your handicapping when you decide which way you're going to go in regards to the total. Also interesting, you got a game here in which neither team has had been in the playoffs consistently, particularly maybe last decade, maybe even this century. Detroit 5-9-1 ATS all time in the playoffs. Here's what I thought was interesting when I opened up our playoff database was the fact that Washington as a team has the best ATS winning percentage in the playoffs in the NFL all time. They've gone 21-9 all time ATS in the playoffs. That's number 1 for Washington. Again, they're almost virgins. They haven't played in a few years, but I thought that was significant as well. One more thing I queried in regards to the game, the fact that Detroit's a big favorite and it's a high over-under line. In the NFL playoffs, home favorites of 7 or more when the over-under line is 50 or higher have gone 0-6 ATS. Last 6 times that has occurred. That's telling us to grab the points with Washington in these high variance, high over-under line games. It tells us that maybe Detroit gets out to a big lead. Maybe Washington comes back, maybe gets that backdoor touchdown in the fourth quarter. But again, home favorites, 7 or greater, over-under 50 or greater in the playoffs, 0-6 ATS. That tells us to kind of fade Detroit and perhaps look to gobble some of those points on Saturday night.
All right. So we've covered the Saturday games here. And I think on a whole, I guess you guys are leaning a little Washington here in the late game. And I guess the favorite more on a Saturday. But again, folks, decipher it yourself. These games we're trying to find something good here. They're difficult. The spreads alone. Listen, we're more probably dog guys than anything. You see these big spreads, you're like, oh lordy, and then they're moving as we're doing a show. We're trying to. At least I am. I'm dumbfounded by this Chiefs line. What is there a blizzard coming? Like, why is this still? I don't understand this.
There's a blizzard of people back in Kansas City. How about that?
On a Friday though, like
right, it doesn't look like
betting during the week. Are average people doing that now?
Well, sure. On Fridays, I would think that, I mean, especially with no college football or anything, there should be some action on there. Are you guys, by the way, speaking of Detroit, obviously everybody knows Detroit hasn't, been to a Super Bowl. And then do you know about the story of the curse of Bobby Lane? Are you guys familiar with that? Bobby Lane was a quarterback because Detroit, I forget the years. I want to say 57 and 58 or 58 and 59. Okay. They won back-to-back championships. Okay. In the NFL. So that's, for anybody, that's obviously a long time ago. And so then Bobby Lane, either the year that he won it, the second year or the year after, so they didn't do as well. I forget exactly. I think it's the latter there. They traded him away. Okay. And I don't remember what they traded. And the story is, now there's no exact quote from here, but the story is when he found out he was traded, he marched into the Detroit offices and to the owner and said, you know what? You'll never win a championship again. Never. Okay. So that's the story. And so that has been the legend of Detroit that has followed them around ever since.
I'm going to throw out a couple. I did like a touchdown prop for every team for the weekend here. So
yeah, I saw your texting and twitting all those anytime touchdown props, man. That's a long list, Sean.
I did, people like him. I just figured I'd do one a game, a guy on a team. There's people like him, but I'm not going to give that the favorite guy here. Like Houston, like Mixon is plus 140. He's the lowest. Pachenko's 155. Anybody could grab a running back, right? I said to do a Michi for Houston. He's 5-1. He's a guy who's going to get some looks. If they're trailing, you're a 10-point dog now. Obviously, you're going to be behind in the game. Why not? There's others. Nico Collins is 225, which is probably his top guy. I'll go 5-1 on just a flyer here. Again,
yeah. In fact, last week, John Mechie was targeted a lot in that game against the Chargers. I think he was targeted even more than Collins last week. I'm not sure. Let me see here. Mechie.
At 5-1, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, he had 8. He had 8 targets last week, and so did Nico Collins. So, if you're going to play it, that's the one to play. That's the dog or the anytime touchdown guy to play. Is the under the radar John Mechie and not the Nico Collins, who everybody's going to be betting on the score.
Right. And for the Chiefs, you go either way here. I got, Hutchinson was 550, Watson's 9-1. Kelsey's probably, I think, the guy you probably should bet, right? Because when it's playoff time, push comes to shove, he's going to go to his number one guy. And that's whatever. I mean, Hollywood Brown and Hopkins are worthy, whatever. He's going to look to a guy who he's been with for years, and he knows he's going to catch the ball. He's plus 150, although that's light, though. I think for me, I don't want to just give out a light, like a 150 kind of piece like that. I'd rather go a little higher. So Watson, like 9-1. Again, pick who. I'm not going to go. We got tomorrow's games. We're going to get into these. Like Barkley's at minus 170. Henry's minus 2 something. You could watch. You could do that yourself. You want to turn into a show and have guys give you huge favorites like that? Like, yeah, let's lay a 180 on a touchdown, anytime touchdown. No, thank you. So I'll throw out those crazy ones here. I like the Michi a lot and the Watson 9-1. Or then again, Kelsey's at 150. I think it's probably, hate to say automatic, but that would be the guy I think would probably be who Mahomes is going to look for. If it's maybe not as much this game because you're a big fave. Although next week in a more tighter kind of game, I think he's going to get a whole lot of catches next week. Like he's going to go right to his guy when the game's on the line. But I figured I'd throw those out here. Now we got plenty of comments. Go ahead, Doug.
One thing is that I believe I saw on ESPN that Mixon has gone to questionable.
Yeah. So I saw that too.
Yep.
All right. Well, that could. All right. Well, that'll explain a 1.5 point line move here as the line moves a little bit on the shelf. He's questionable on a Friday afternoon. Let's be honest. That's probably going to be, if he plays, grab some unders because he'll be done in the first quarter there if he's questionable. He's not coming out and banging out in the cold like it's some healthy day. It's 70 degrees outside. He feels nice and fresh. It's mid-January. He's banged up, and it's cold Kansas City in the playoffs. Not where you want to jump on a running back prop. For sure. We'll do some comments. Just because I feel bad, we got all these comments in here. So the Ragu was asking about the Philly team. So Philly offense as a whole, underwhelming effort. We're going to talk about this game, and I'll say right here with it, the Philly offense. Your quarterback was out for a couple weeks, so of course it's going to be slow going in that one. Mars like in the Rams. John, do you agree? Lots of good teaser spots this weekend. Why wouldn't it be? You have three teams that are 9-point favorites, 6-point favorites. They're not Wong-esque, but they're close enough to get it down to that kind of area. Victor, right? Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can. There are definitely some opportunities this week. You can take those two big Saturday favorites down if you choose to, and you'll cross over the 3 and you'll cross over the 7. You can go the other way if you think that the dogs have some value. You may want to take the dog in that Baltimore Buffalo game in terms of a teaser as well. But there are some interesting teaser opportunities. The only thing we do is remember we never tease totals. We only tease sides. Totals make absolutely no sense in the NFL to tease a total, knowing that a touchdown's worth 7 points and you can only move the line 6 points in regards to a teaser. So consider the Wong teaser in which we cross over the numbers of 3 and 7 and lay away from playing totals in regards to teasers.
Now, Sean, do you have a teaser story you'd like to share that we talked about yesterday?
Which one was that? My 55.5 one? Which one?
I actually even forget. Victor, the week before, Sean, a week ago last Thursday, Sean and I were talking, and I gave out a teaser. I don't even.
I said I didn't hate it.
That's the other thing. He didn't hate it, which is, of course, means he didn't like it. Okay. So we did that, and then he goes, every teaser looks like it's a winner. He goes, I think, and he goes, but they're impossible to bet. They're absolutely impossible to bet. And so then we were talking yesterday, and he goes, yeah, I got a teaser that I'm looking at this weekend.
I did. I was like, because they look so good. You load them up and you're like, wow, I got teams down to pick them, right? I mean, the line was different. I got like a 2, a 1. I'm like, I just got to win at home. Why not? Ohio State down to a 1. Why wouldn't I do that? It's like, again, they look good, but you can't rely on them. Like I told Victor last week, I said I had the Steeler one. I banged it up on a total of 55.5, like a lunatic, and I was worried about the Ravens scoring 42 points. That would have crushed my total.
It's kind of weird. The best feeling that you have when you are betting on a game is not the end of the game, not even necessarily cashing a winner. It is right after you get your action in and the game hasn't kicked off yet, because you're thinking this is a winner. That anticipation. This is a wonderful play. I'm going to win every single one of my bets.
Yes.
That is the best, most gratifying feeling, if you ask me. Not the outcome. It's the anticipation before the game kicks and all your action is in, I think.
Listen, I put them in. I add them. I'm like, well, look at this. I'm up already for the week. Like, as far as I'm concerned, every game I have in there is a winner already. And then the next day, you're like, all right, how'd I do? Right? Because that's how it is. I mean, it's just one day.
There's a lot of difficult aspects to this Philadelphia LA Ram game. Number one has to be the fact that with every passing day, guys, the more likely the snow percentages go up, is what I'm seeing in terms of my NFLweather.com website. Now it's up to 69% likely snow, 28 to 34 degrees, 9 to 15 mile per hour winds. So you got to ask yourself, how does a warm weather dome team going to perform there on the road in potential snow? Matt Stafford's played one or two career games perhaps, and this type of nasty weather has not done necessarily well. Not surprised the underline is ticking down below that key number of 44. It's pretty much a straight 43.5 now as I'm looking at the lines. Obviously, it's probably going to go down as well. The thing that's perplexing to me is that most of my database querying that I've been doing over the last couple of days point to this game going over the total. And yet you've got the bad weather and you've got a lot of intangibles. You've got a quarterback for Philadelphia who you don't know how hurt he is. It's got me completely off the game. I'm certainly not going over. I'm probably not going to bet the under. I may look for a decent spot in regards to perhaps playing the underdog, but I think it's one of the more difficult games of the weekend. But it's kind of weird I say that because all these games are tough, huh, Sean?
Yeah. So Mar says, we're talking about here. He's got under 45. It is now a 6 and a 43.5. I was looking at the AccuWeather. They're saying 3 to 5 inches. It's going to start in the morning, ramp up in the afternoon. There will be snow. And again, snow for totals doesn't make a difference for that. We don't care about that snow.
It's the wind. The wind.
Is the wind going to tick up? Because it's saying like 15-mile-an-hour winds to start. And is that going to affect Philly? They're going to run the ball. And as you mentioned, Hurts, how healthy is the guy? He looked like crap last week, but he hadn't played in 3 weeks. So fair assessment. You're going to kind of struggle there. You got some turnovers. You got some wins there. It was an ugly win, whatever the case may be. You got a Rams team that's been playing pretty good defense. Corinne Williams, they're going to run the ball. I know Stats Pafford's a guy. Oh, he can't play in the elements, this and that. Well, maybe he doesn't have to really. If he's going to run the ball here, like you were saying, like this kind of looked like an over to start, the way Philly's been playing and pounding the ball. This kind of changes things here. If it's a sloppy field, guys are going to be like a little more hesitant. Play calling is going to obviously kind of take a step back. There's not going to be I don't think as many probably longer shots, but it'll just be they're going to play a different kind of game. They can say whatever they want. Oh, it's football. If they go out there and the field's covered, it's this and that, it changes. It just changes for whatever it is. It's just there that it's not the same game plan as 40 or 30 for 30 degrees, 20, 60. Clear skies is one thing. You're playing in this, it just changes the things up. I would probably lean under there now with the down to 43, but I don't know. Doug, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I thought the under was the play anyways, just in the game. And now you add in all this, all these other things that are coming into play here. And one of the things I have to admit, I neglected to look, but I know that Higbee got hurt last week, and I don't know if he's available or not this week. But if there's that much snow, that takes away a pretty important weapon in the Rams offense. Not that Higbee's been hurt enough over the last couple of years. They've had other guys step up, but still, last week he was a big target early in that game for the Rams. So I think that matters. Here's something that's kind of interesting. First half, road underdogs of 2 to 6 points. Revenging the loss where the opposing team scored 35 or more points, and they're off an upset win as an underdog. They are 12-39 on that first half line. Okay, so that leads itself to taking Philadelphia on the first half line.
First half line 3.5, total 21.5 in this one. I should have mentioned that early on. Philly at home. I go into short week, which is. You get that. Should you have that in the playoffs? Probably not. That's a little unfair advantage, I think. Then again, it's an hour flight home, so they're really in their beds on time. But is that going to make a difference in playoff time this short week there? Maybe early, maybe with the snow.
I think what has it been 4 or 5 weeks or 4 or 5 years? When did we go to 14 teams? I don't even remember now. Just to where because I guess is it just 2 years? Now that I think about it. This Monday night game. So, and I don't recall what the result was from last year. So there's really nothing to say, because there's typically, there's always a rest advantage, disadvantage to a certain degree every year, based on with how the wild card played out, because sometimes somebody would play on a Sunday and have to come back on a Saturday anyways. So that's
you're right.
common. That's fairly common, and I don't know of any. I don't recall ever seeing any numbers that really talk to that. Seems like, if anything, that I kind of remember is that teams playing with 2 full weeks off were at somewhat more of a disadvantage if they had a larger spread. But that's a little conjecture on my part. I don't recall that exactly. But yeah, so I mean, in this game, I mean, I think most people thought that the Rams are the play, but if weather is becoming that big of an issue or a potential issue, I don't know. That seems that it forces the running game across the board for both teams to want to move the ball, and maybe some first down throws of 5 or 6 yards to certain targets. It changes just how the game's going to be played, and obviously just adds uncertainty.
I tend to agree. Vic, you think same?
One more thing in regards to the total. What I will be betting on in the under in this game is under in the first half, for sure. I don't know about the full game as of yet, but the Rams were. We've done well this season playing Rams first half unders, and they led the NFL. 67% of their games went under the total in the first half this season. L.A. Rams, slow starting team. Now, Philadelphia has been a slow starting team as well for a while there. They were automatic underplays in the first quarter of their games. Things have changed a little bit in the last month of play, but they are still the number 3 team in the NFL in terms of best first half under team. So you got number 1 team taking on number 3 team as far as best first half unders. I think you could still find a 21.5. And I did bet the first half under in regards to the game. One final note in regards to Saquon Barkley. He had his best game of the season this year when the Rams played out at home against the Eagles. If you remember that indoor game, he had like 255 rushing yards. He had 270-yard plus TD runs in that game. And the odds makers have adjusted big time. The last time I looked, my line was like 112. 111 for Saquon Barkley rushing yards in this game. That's too high. I can't play the over in regards to that. But what I can play the over is Saquon Barkley longest rush is at 18.5 right now. And we're going to play that over the total. You're asking him to not necessarily have a big body of work in regards to the entire game. You're asking him to break at least one run for 19 or more yards, and he's going to do it. Again, he had 270-plus rushing touchdowns when they played earlier this year. I think that's the safest of the Saquon Barkley rushing props on Sunday is Saquon Barkley over 18.5 longest rush.
So you don't think minus 170 for a touchdown is easy money for Barkley there?
No.
I see the longest receptions and longest run props, and I get scared of them. I do. I'm like, oh man, I need a 20-yard run here.
Sean, we just hit one last week. Remember last Friday?
Exactly.
We were talking about our kid from Tampa Bay, the rookie running back. What's his name again?
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving he had a 19-yard rush. He paid off for us
everybody
last week.
Plus, there's always
We're
a bust
do it again this week.
My anytime tutties in this game, I'm going to the tight ends here. I know Higbee's banged up or whatever. But again, I just 475. I'll take a flyer on Higgy there to do it. And Goddard, a little fancy Godet. Dallas Goedert, 295 for a anytime tutty. Again, Saquon's minus 170. No, thank you. That's not going to happen.
Who scored a touchdown last week for the Rams once Higbee was hurt in the game? It was their backup tight end, Davis Allen, who scored that touchdown in the second half, right, Doug?
Yep.
You may want to take a look at his odds also, depending on Higbee's status. You want to talk about a long shot? Davis Allen to score a touchdown could be interesting too.
There you go. Again, yeah, I'm all about the long shots, taking guys a little further down the food chain here with our plays here. So there is that one. I'm looking to grab your first half here as we're speaking. One of my sites has it at 21, and I actually just did a under mixing carries 15.5 myself here because I don't. If he
monitor Mixon, you may want to think about playing some Dameon Pierce props, depending on Mixon as well.
And that guy was a good running back too. They go and get Mixon. Harris wasn't a bad guy.
And also the fact that Houston is going to be playing from behind in that game. I mean, they're a 10-point dog, right? You may even want to consider some of the, their pass receiving running back is Dare Ogunbike or whatever. And you may want to take a look at some of his receiving props over, because he's going to get a lot of playing time when Houston is playing from behind in that game.
Oh, I like to do those like on these dogs. You take these running backs, because all it is, you saw with Russell Wilson, just little flares out of the backfield to Harris, whoever. I mean, it could be, whoever. It could be Mixon, it could be Pierce. It doesn't make a difference. Anybody in the backfield is going to get receptions. They're going to get their looks. Man, we're running really late here. We got to get to the last one here. Loads of comments. I feel bad, but what do we got? We got to cover all these games first. Sorry, chat. I see the Ninja, Ragu, Michael Lunchies. This I just got to get him because he's like, geez, 57 was the last Lions championships. You mentioned your lane prop or your lane curse, 1957 leg show. It's been a mile. Good morning, glue sniffers. Yes, and window lickers. That's what we are here. Oh my goodness. All right, let's go. Final game. It's a goodie. Ravens now a 1.5-point favorite, 51.5. Here's the first half, laying a half a point, 24.5 Buffalo. There is chance of snow up here as well. It's Buffalo. There's always a chance of snow, and it's January. Why wouldn't it be cold? You got two cold teams here, so it doesn't really make a difference. These guys are used to the weather. I don't think it makes a difference in this one. 51.5. It's one of Victor's numbers. He likes those 51s up there. Another 50-something pointer here. I'm going to tell you out of the bat here. Justice Hill, 475 for an anytime tutty for me on the Ravens. And I took Amari Cooper at a 475 as well here. Again, Allen and Cook are both minus 110. Henry, minus 220. No, thank you. Although 2 touchdowns is 245 if you want to go that route. What do you think, Doug? You like the 245 of him, or you want like 220 with Henry?
No. I think if you're going to take a shot, take it at the 2 touchdowns on that one. It's just such a fascinating game, and it was also interesting that the line moved, from Buffalo -1 to +1, okay, on that, and it did it relatively quickly early in the week. I look at the two offenses. I don't think there's much difference, okay, between the two offenses. They're both highly productive. They have the ability to score by grinding the ball out, or they have the ability to score, with single plays, okay, very quickly. At this point, though, at Baltimore's defense was, I can't, for a team, it's hard to believe they're actually here. If you saw, watch them play the first 4 weeks of the season, they were pathetic beyond belief. They were the worst defense in the NFL, and I think they had the worst passing defense after the first week. I believe the team that was 31st was 40 or 50 yards lower than they were. Okay, so it was remarkable, but yet they figured it out. And one of the things that they did that was, I give their defensive coordinator first year kind of struggled early, but then they took their all-pro safety, Kyle Hamilton, and as opposed to having him play, well, for those that might remember Charles Woodson playing with Green Bay and also with the Raiders, instead of having him play near the line of scrimmage, they put him back. Okay, they moved him back to a regular free safety position. And that seemed to stabilize everything because his range as a person that could guard someone and or tip passes, cover up mistakes is just tremendous. Of course, he went to Notre Dame. I just thought I'd get that in there for you, Sean, on that one. So that their defense, in my opinion, right now, okay, is better than what Buffalo's is. And to me, that is, I'm looking at that's one of the big differences in the game. Buffalo 9-0 straight up at home, hard to argue with. Okay. But since Baltimore lost at Kansas City in the opening game, 6-2 straight up and against the spread on the road. Certainly no blowout in any way that I can see here, but I like Baltimore, okay, to get the job done and advance in this one.
Baltimore got an official play for the chat here on the Ravens from Doug. I have nothing on this one. I didn't play. You know what I did? You know what teaser I did? I did both of them. I did them all over the place. I got Baltimore up. I took the Bills up, and I put them in there with the Ohio State Buckeyes. And my luck is somebody's going to win by 10, and I'm going to actually spit the bit on this. Let's be honest. Somebody's going to win. This game will be like 34-24, and then I'm going to lose, and I'll be like, what was I thinking? Why couldn't I just pick one team instead?
Those damn teasers. God, I hate teasers.
That's what I'll be saying on Monday night around 11:30 after. Well, actually, no. I think Ohio State's going to beat up on on the Irish there. So I'll be saying that Sunday night when I'm coming in to do look ahead line. I'll be doing the lines for next week, complaining about what the heck was I thinking doing this. I say in the chat, don't do that, and here I am doing it. Victor.
Well, Doug hit exactly right on the head why Baltimore's favored on the road in this game. It's because the worst unit on the field is the Buffalo defense. And when I say unit, I'm talking about both teams' offenses, both teams' defenses. And you're exactly right. As Baltimore's defense has improved by the week, particularly in the second half of the season, particularly in the last month of play, Buffalo's has gone the other way. That's the main reason that Baltimore is favored on the road, is because the worst unit on the field is the current version of the Buffalo Bills defense in the game. If you're going to play the total, 51 and a half, it's working its way down. Get your action in as soon as possible. I do like the under at 51 and a half or higher. Half the books I'm looking at right now have the line come down to 51. Don't play the 51 if you're going to bet give me 51 and a half or higher. We know it's a key number. I know we're against it here, guys. One more thought in regards to Sean's plays, particularly some of his prop plays. And Justice Hill is a guy that's got some value this week. We're looking to try and take advantage of the fact that Zay Flowers, again, didn't practice today on Friday. Just got the tweet. Didn't practice. It's their last full-time practice before the Sunday game. He didn't play. So what we're trying to do is take advantage of the Zay Flower absence and capitalize on some of the other guys on the Baltimore Ravens team in terms of props. And Justice Hill is indeed one of those guys. Again, tied for most targets last week in receiving in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Under the weather, second-string running back, Justice Hill. And while a TD scorer might be the way to go in the game, I would much rather play him over his receiving yards prop, which is somewhere around 19.5 to 20.5 right now as we speak. And again, one would think that the way that Buffalo is going to initially defense this game is probably going to stack the box. Let's get all our personnel on the line of scrimmage, stack the box, dare Baltimore to run, slow down the Derrick Henrys of the world. And if they do that, Baltimore could very, very easily take advantage and get Justice Hill even more playing time in this game. I think he does have more than 20 receiving yards. That's the prop I like, in addition to Sean's prop on Justice Hill to score a potential touchdown. Think about Justice Hill over in his receiving yard as we try to take advantage of the absence of Zay Flowers.
I'm gonna be moving on that too. I'm trying to load up my my prop builder here for that one. I like that. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, no, to say, and to Victor's point, the most important down to follow in the game is for Buffalo's defense is first down, because if they can at least half the time have it be 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 8, that will help them tremendously. If they're consistently in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, with against Derrick Henry, that could be a long evening. Okay, in that case.
Yeah, they just shot me down to put this bet in. No thank you. $150. No thank you. Really? I'm not even. And you have it juiced up to 23 yards.
Wow.
Oh yeah, 13 yards minus 290.
Maybe they're fans of Gamblers World and they saw you leading the leaderboard, so that's why they want to. They don't want your action.
And you know it is, guys. We do.
You're right. Last night I checked that Justice Hill was 20.5. I got him up to 22.5, 23 right now. So there is some money coming in on that Justice Hill receiving over the total.
Well, see, see, it's Victor bringing it up. See, I mean, he's moving lines as we speak. Once again, Victor is. Here we go. I love it.
Like, it's funny. I used to be like, "Oh, I'm putting 50,000 on bet." Like, I'm trying to get like 150 on a random prop on a Friday and having not allowed.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah, that's terrible.
Oh, we got the comedians out today. So we had Leg Show with his glue sniffers, and look at Charlie's comment. My wife's boyfriend is an Eagle fan. If they win, he'll be merciless on Monday.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the comment section. Oh my goodness, a bunch of comedians. I love it.
Well, one thing that we're assured of, though, pretty much no matter what, is we're going to have two really good championship games. You know, I mean, unless Houston somehow pulls something out that is just unbelievable. I mean, we got two really good championship games, and that's something definitely to look forward to. You know, the following week.
No, you should have some good matchups, and even if you get two upsets in the NFC, I don't think those are bad teams. I think the Rams are a dangerous team. They got a Super Bowl winning coach. They got a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The defense has been playing better. And that, real fast before we get out of here, I saw a lot of crap going online the last week. There was the who won the Rams trade, Stafford, Goff, and everybody. And the Rams have won. The Rams won the trade because they won the Super Bowl. The Lions are good, and you could win 13 games a year for the next 5 years. Unless you win a Super Bowl, what do you want, a participation trophy? The goal is to win a Super Bowl. The Rams have done that. And then I think yesterday I saw who is better, Phillip Rivers or Eli Manning, who won the trade. Well, yes, I think Rivers was a better quarterback overall. Eli won 2 Super Bowls, being an undefeated. He beat the Patriots twice. That's the guy. There's my Randy White. You think I want to say something kind about freaking Philadelphia or the goddamn Giants? Get the hell out of here. He beat the Patriots twice with Belichick and Brady. It's not even a question of who won that trade or who's even better. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings versus the best quarterback and head coach basically of all time. Sorry, Phillip Rivers. I'm glad that you have 10 kids. Be a great father. Eli won the trade. No? Am I right on both of these?
Well, I have a question. If Detroit wins the Super Bowl this year, does your opinion change of what you just said?
Yeah, because they got a Super Bowl. So then at that point, it's like, well, you gave up too much to win, right? I mean, it's equal, but at this point, it tips the scales to the Rams because they got Gibbs and they got all these other guys on top of that. So there it comes into, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you're both won Super Bowls. But now these guys can – again, the Rams could still win another one. I don't know if they can win with Stafford. It's possible, or you never know. But all the additional pieces to the Lions team until they win, great. You win a bunch of games, that's great. I mean, the Braves were an awesome team for a decade. They got 1 World Series where they, a lot of good teams never win anything.
Yeah, I don't feel that strongly about that. I mean, I think Detroit. If you take where Detroit was and where they are today, I'm not all in on winning championships. Now, that's just my opinion, and obviously you have yours. Not everybody, okay, including the Detroit Lions, for years thought about winning championships. They could have cared less. Kind of like you could pick the sport, you could pick the team. Okay, there's plenty of teams in the NFL that don't care at all about making a championship, just like baseball, probably the best example. They could care less about winning a World Series. Okay. It's just a matter of but if you start going the right direction, and obviously Goff is Goff a better quarterback than Stafford? Okay. In the last 2 to 3 years, or 2 years at least, I would say yes. Okay. So for Detroit, I think that's a huge win, okay, because they're able to get him, and they still have the potential to win a Super Bowl. I would say this year and next. I don't know what their free agency situation looks like after this season, but so yeah, I'm not as strong on that. I understand the argument. Don't get me wrong. I understand the argument.
But the Rams specifically traded for Stafford because Goff lost to New England, so that was their.
Right. They needed the one guy, and he was the missing piece. No question about
it. Now, if you're a Lions fan, as bad as you were for the last, you were terrible for 20 years. The fact that last year you were really good, this year you were favored to win the NFC. Eventually, you're going to be you got to get over that kind of hump. I mean, I'm sure they're happy going 14-3 every year or 13-3 or whatever they do. Do you think they're going to want to win the Super Bowl under this guy?
Well, of course they do. Yeah.
It changed. I get they've been bad, but eventually you want to win the Super Bowl, I thought. I mean,
the Pirates, which is why the ownership finally gave up the ability of wanting to run the organization and or hiring bad people. They went and hired a football person to run the organization, and lo and behold, look where the Detroit Lions are right now. So
did they steal the trade talent wise? Yes, there's no comparison. I mean, come on, you got all these guys.
Yep.
Eventually, you want to win one though, because it's not like you're 10-8 every year now. Now you're winning. You're winning. All right, Victor. Now you gotta get out of here. We are late.
I got one question, Sean. Is that a picture of a llama behind you?
Yeah,
that looks like the llama from Napoleon Dynamite or something. I never realized that. You got a picture of a llama behind you.
A llama. So when I had sold our house, we went to an apartment for a couple months, and I was like, I started doing a little show, and I was literally in a corner. There was like a closet and like a window. I just had the desk there, and the kids were homeschooling. It was COVID, and I just came on and do some like college basketball tournament stuff for the conference tournaments. And my daughter was like, "There's nothing behind you," so she drew the llama. And then hence the llama was born, and it's the llama comes out. So I got a Christmas llama. She's got a bunch of seasonal llamas she makes. She like my daughter likes to do art and draw. Yeah.
I would have thought for sure you'd be down in Houston. That would just be a picture that you took out in your backyard, you know.
No, that would be like a cow or something. A lot of cows down here. They're like right down the road. They're right down the road. It's great. You hear them in the morning sometimes. I like it.
Interesting. There you go.
Definitely better than Gunshots in Jersey.
Good luck to everybody.
All right, everybody. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the chat, but we a lot of games, a lot of talking. Victor, Doug, myself, good luck this weekend, everybody. See you on Monday, Doug, Victor, next week. Take it easy, folks.
Bye, guys.